You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com. Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, which is being the best bookkeeper that you can be. But we're having casual conversations for serious workflows. And you may notice that Carrie doesn't look like Carrie because we pulled an audible today, and we wanted to have Janice come on and talk about a specific situation that she had. And we wanted to talk through what happened and how we were able to help Janice. And Janice, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I hate to butcher it.
Yeah, it's Barsalou.
Barsalou.
Yeah.
And how long you've been using books, been a pro advisor? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, I've been books. I started off with Desktop Pro Advisor since 2009. And I think I got my online certification in 2014. That's when it started really getting popular. And then I moved into the advanced world in, I think, 2018. And just recently got my payroll certifications, working my way up slowly but surely. And
In
I
terms of your clientele, would you say that you're a generalist, or do you specialize in a
yes,
specific industry?
I do not specialize in any one particular kind of business. I try to help everybody. I am solo, so for me, it doesn't really matter. My biggest focus is on cleanups, though. I spend a lot of time doing cleanup work. I have a good two handfuls of regular clients that I service at all times, but I educate, I teach, I train, I clean up and fix the mess. And then, because they want to do it themselves, a lot of these small businesses,
Mhm.
but some of them just don't have it. I will consult and give advice. But yeah, definitely the cleanup is always the fun challenges.
Got it.
So,
You had an issue, and we want to talk through that situation. Speaking of cleanup, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Because this was, and I saw your cries for help as this. I want to share my screen real quick because this was the situation. Let's talk about it a little bit. This was a screenshot that you were posting on a multitude of Facebook groups looking for assistance, but this was the vendor screen in a client's QuickBooks Online,
Right.
and everything was paid.
Yep.
So talk to us about what was wrong when you were looking at the
Right.
screen.
I'm running my reports, and my client actually reached out to me and said, "Why is this vendor saying that I owe him money when I don't have a balance?" And I'm like, so that kind of triggered me to go in and do a little research. And I ran my AP reports and my open balance for vendors, and it shows nothing. But yet, when I came into the customer center, it came up with this balance showing of $5,000. And I'm like, how is this even possible? So that just signaled me to do a little bit of research and try to find out, did something not apply correctly?
Right.
Was there something that just maybe there was no unapplied balance in any of the invoices or bills that were entered? So I went through all of the expenses and bill payments and checks that were written. And some of them were legit expenses or checks, things that came through the bank feeds that there was never a bill created for it. I did find occasionally that the client would never enter the bill. I didn't know where it went, so I would just enter it as an expense and then go back to the client and say, what account is it let me at least get it reconciled. So it would just go in as ask the client, and then I'd come back and put it towards cost of goods sold. And
Hmm.
then I would find out later on that it was a bill payment. There was an invoice for it. And I'd have to go back and pull it in from that right hand, what are they
Hmm.
called?
The
Drawer. Yeah, pull
the
it in
drawer
from
that slides
drawer.
open from the right, and then you can
Right,
add it
right.
on, and then
And then
sure.
add it on. So it
Yeah.
still shows up in your customer center. You
Hmm.
see the bill payment, and then you see the expense. And
Yeah.
one has got the payment amount and one is a zero amount.
Yeah. They're just tying those two together.
Yeah. So I sat there as I'm going through everything and I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? And when I shared it on the Facebook groups, everybody's, why don't you try to recreate a new vendor
Yeah.
and merge them together? I
Yeah,
tried that.
you can see me. I actually posted on it's like,
Yes,
the
exactly.
AP aging and vendor balance report shows nothing for this vendor, and that was true. That was, when
Right,
you actually did run those reports, there was
right,
nothing for this vendor.
right.
The only place that it showed up was this
Yep.
$5,000 in
And
open, when
right.
open
I
means it's open, but it's current to QuickBooks. It's not overdue. So all of this, there was like what, a couple years of history for this
yep.
particular
Yeah, I
vendor
think it
too,
went back
right?
to 2020. Yep, and I'm sitting there and I'm scratching my head, and I did wind up getting Intuit support on the phone.
Was
I'm
that
in the
was that
top
your
level.
first was that your
Yeah,
first outreach? You reached out to
yes.
them first?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was, like, on Monday or Tuesday of last week, and I had actually put it on the Facebook group, I think prior to me calling. I reached out to peers. I had a good friend of mine who's also a pro advisor. She's part of my Woodard group. And Lynn, I thank her for her time because she came in and willingly said, maybe I'm missing something. Nope, nothing. She's scratching her head. And I'm scratching my head. And then I put it on another Facebook group, and I'm just like, I don't know what. And in the meantime, my client is annoyed
Hmm.
because I got to send my reports to I'm trying to apply for a loan and I can't have this showing. And I'm just like, I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what to do. And I was so thankful, Dan, that you said, all right, hey, let me take a look. And I know for a fact that you went in there and you saw
Yep.
exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
And you scratched
So
your head, right?
yeah, I was scratching my head as well. Just to quantify, how much time did you spend trying to figure out this issue? Like, up to this
Easily.
point, before I
Yeah.
got involved, right?
Yeah. Easily 8 to 10 hours.
Mhm. And of
I
course,
mean,
that's not billable time to
right,
your client, right? Because
right,
it's and then you're bringing in other people's time,
right.
your
Yep,
colleagues, and
yep,
posting on Facebook. They're trying to help you.
yep,
And a lot of times when you would post, this is what I see a lot of times, especially when people cross post things on Facebook, is you end up having to start over with explaining
yeah,
the problem, and
right.
getting to where you left off with
Yeah,
other group, right?
yeah.
So I saw Janice's cry for help amongst all of these different Facebook groups, and I finally said, like, okay, I she's clearly doing something, or not saying that you were doing something wrong, but clearly something is wrong, and it's not resolving itself from all of the help that she's gotten, even myself trying to help out with run these reports and see what's going on. So I'm like, oh, I got to see this. So I reached out to Janice. I said, hey, can you invite me to the client so I can take a look at it? And then she was watching me doing things in the audit logs. Okay, you're doing the same thing I did. I merged the vendor, because that was my last ditch
Yeah,
effort of thinking that,
yeah,
okay, there's something askew here. It's the wrong vendor. There's something wrong with the vendor itself. And just to be transparent, my thought was that you were merging the wrong direction. So, okay, let's make sure. And I looked in your audit log, and I can see that you did merge. I'm like, okay, let me just make sure, and I'll merge again. And lo and behold, it did not resolve itself. I
right.
was, oh my
Right.
gosh. Now I'm scratching my head. I have no
Right. And every time I would do something, my fingers were crossed and I was praying, like, please let this fix it. And it, nope.
It's so I reached out the following day to my colleagues over that still work at it to see, because I know you already went that route.
Yep.
You tried to talk to support and they were scratching their heads.
Yep.
But sometimes I have a tendency to be able to tell them what to do. And I don't want to necessarily say that in like a demeaning way or anything like that, but I immediately started the conversation. Is there a product investigation on this situation? And then they had me run through some of the similar things, and we did a screen share and I showed them, this is where it is. I run this report. It's not there. So that is a problem.
That's great. I didn't know that you actually had them on there and they
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when they could understand the problem, right, then essentially at that point stopped troubleshooting the problem, right? Because we could see the problem. So all the things of like, because they even told me clear caching cookies. I'm like, look, Janice is in another state, right? So if
Yeah.
she's having the same problem with a different computer in a different browser, okay, fine. I'll use a different browser just to
Yeah.
humor you. And of course, same problem, right? A lot of times anytime that you throw the word weird in the same sentence as QuickBooks Online, that is a common thing, right? There's
Yeah.
probably an extension in your browser or a temporary internet file. Going into incognito and trying another browser is typically the
Yeah.
first thing to answer
Right.
those weird types of situations. Now, in
Right.
desktop QuickBooks, anytime you throw the word weird, you're thinking data damage, right?
Right.
So the challenge here is that you don't really have data damage in QuickBooks Online
Right.
simply because it's redundantly backed up. As soon as you save it on a transaction in QuickBooks Online, it's saved up in multiple places. So the chance of something being damaged is very slim, right? So you don't have these verified data things, utilities that you can do inside of QuickBooks Online because it just does it. Now,
Right.
what I learned from this whole experience is that QuickBooks actually does a data validation for you on a nightly basis, right? And that's what they told me, is that we've seen this before. We've seen some product investigations. They've been closed because the table, which is the vendor table and that's why the only reason that you were seeing this open balance was in here. That table had a figure that was incorrect, and it could have been any types of these transactions that would have calculated that way. One of those transactions and there was several that were just for $5,000,
Right.
which was the reason I think that it's got to be one of these
Yeah.
transactions,
Yeah.
and why you spent so much time trying to fix it manually. But ultimately, there wasn't anything that you could have done. There's no reason or no cause to it, and there's no remedy that you could do inside of QuickBooks.
Right.
Correct.
And it's really frustrating too, because I see it all the time where you're on Facebook in these groups and people are reaching out, "Hey, I need help. Can you help me look at this? Can you help me look at that?" And we have such a strong community and we're all usually able to help each other. But the fact that we were not able to, and then it's like you just are like, that's one of the things that's frustrating about QBO. That,
Mhm.
and you came back and you said to me, they said, give it a few days, right? And it did finally clear out. And then you sit there and you're like, wow, okay, it resolved itself. Okay.
Right.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah, it's a manna.
Yeah, miracles happen.
Your manna from heaven, your balance is no longer there, right?
Balance was, I came in on Monday morning after the weekend and it was gone. And it was
Yeah.
like, yes, thank
I was
God.
I
Right.
I'd love to take credit, but what ultimately happened was there was something askew, and the validation checks that Intuit has in place eventually resolved
Right.
itself.
And I wonder if really without us pushing it a little bit and trying to make it, would it have resolved on its own at some
Yeah. If your
point?
customer never noticed it and then popped in a week later, right?
Right.
And they would have never saw it, right?
Right.
I there it's hard to say because of course that's a tree falls in a forest with no sound, right?
But it's infuriating for us because we are putting so much time. And I kept thinking to myself, oh my God, should I just let this go? What do I do? Do I really want to keep pursuing trying to figure it out? But I just didn't feel right inside in my guts, just saying,
Right.
it's not my fault. But that's what us, as the pros that we are, is that we do what we have to do to make things right. Yeah.
And that's part of the community of accounting professionals is that every number has to have a reason that it's
Yes.
there, right?
Yes.
So the fact that there is a $5,000 open balance for a vendor who's been paid in full is that's a puzzlement, right? And then
Right.
that's what keeps you up at night,
Absolutely.
wondering and scratching your head.
Abs
Why did that even
Right.
happen? And
Right.
to your
Right.
point, of course, that is frustrating. But the shameless plug for us at School of Bookkeeping, as far as quick answers, a lot of times you could just reach out to us and we could take that burden off and do the, I don't know, what's the best way to describe it is being able to speak to Sherpa your way through the support channels and maybe got that answer a lot quicker
Right.
without,
And that is the thing, like, sometimes you sit there and you're like, which community should I reach out to? Who's the best person to talk to? And when you reached out, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm part of CBG. Oh, yeah, David help. He's got connections. So I just thought that was awesome. And I really appreciate even though you wound up not doing anything, s-
just
just having
validating.
yes, and that's what my friend Lynn did too, because she did the same thing, and we've all been in the industry long enough to know when you see something that really doesn't look right, and you know that you've done everything that you possibly can. I went so much as to take all of the expenses, I deleted them and rewrote them as bill payments to try to and still nothing
Yeah.
came.
The only other solution that I thought might have helped with this particular situation is creating another vendor and
Yeah,
then one by one moving those transactions to that other vendor. But that would have
right.
been so labor intensive.
Mhm.
It would have unapplied
Oh, yeah,
transactions
all
from
the
each
every
other,
payment right, every payment on
and
a
then you
part.
would have to reapply them, and then I'm sure they would have been reconciled. So then you've got that reconciliation
Right,
to concern yourself with, and like
yep,
that. There's got to be something else,
right,
and
right.
that's what
Yeah,
caused me to.
it's funny because I tell a lot of people, I say, "What I do is really not about the numbers per se." I call it a puzzle. It's
Mm,
putting together all the pieces and making sure that everything comes out. You want all those pieces to be put back together the right way, and that's what we would have done. We would have been undoing that puzzle. And
right.
that would have been a royal pain in the butt. So,
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. You
yeah,
could put a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
applicatives on that.
yep. So,
So obviously, we're not talking about what's new in QuickBooks 2024 or the service discontinuation. So we'll do that next time on the workshop. But I wanted to have Janice come on and talk about her tale of woe and how we were able to assist. We didn't find any missing corner pieces of this puzzle other than that this sort of thing does happen and it should rectify itself
yeah.
over the period of time. But
You're not
yeah, that's exactly it.
you're
We all just want to make sure that we're not going crazy.
right. Still, I totally appreciated the support that I got and the community. And that's what I love about the Facebook groups is that we're all on there. The younger generation, they're like, we don't like Facebook. But me, I love my world and all my posts are from QuickBooks groups.
Yeah, if you go look at Janice's Facebook profile, they're all messages to Facebook groups about books.
Yeah, yeah. We share what we know and our knowledge to some of the newbies, and thank God we have that. We didn't have that when we were younger. So
Yeah.
it's great to
There,
have a place to go. And
even though you're in business for yourself, you're not in business by yourself because there's other people that are going
that's right.
through similar
Yep.
misery loves company, right?
Yep. Just so everyone knows, Dan's the man. You're going to be my go-to person next time.
All right.
No,
Next time, all you have to do is go into quick answers and
yeah,
then ask the question.
true. But there won't be a next time, right?
Not for this one. It'll be something else.
Yeah, always.
All right, Janice, thank you again for coming
Oh,
on. I
you're
appreciate
so
the kind
welcome.
words.
Yeah, I'm
And
happy to have shared that and hope that everybody saw that challenge and now we all see. But
well,
thanks for having
next,
me on.
sure.
Appreciate it.
Next week, we'll be talking about the QuickBooks 2024, what's the honorable mention of what's new in, in QuickBooks 2024. Not a huge thing, but the service discontinuation, which always brings up the question of what's happening with QuickBooks Desktop. So we'll be talking about that next week. Janice, again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Workshop Wednesday.
Take care. Bye, everybody.